Hello, good morning. It is Veronica, your designer off grid. I'm here just sitting on my bed and I just had an interesting morning. This one is going to be a little bit more of a heartfelt type video, so bear with me. I'm trying to put out interesting videos that I know people will want to watch, so I know that's gonna have a lot to do with action and working on the homestead. But I cannot depart from the fact of why I'm here. And I received an email this morning. Before I get into the email, I want to read something. I want to read a scripture. And again, this is not a religious channel or anything like that, but my faith is my identity, and so it's always going to come up. Like I said, if it's something that you guys prefer not to see, I can just put a timestamp so you can jump ahead. But I hope you stick around to just hear this part of it. It's one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible, and I'm reading from the Sefer, which I use quite a lot, and it's from the Apocrypha. It's the book of Ecclesiasticus, which is also called Sirach, and which is different from Ecclesiastes. Some people don't know the difference just because it's not mainstream, but so it's from Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, and I'm going to read from maybe verse 1 to verse 11 maybe. So it's going to be quite a long read. So like I said, I'll put the timestamp. But it's my favorite, and once I read it, you'll see why, just because it just connects so much with my life now and just my life in general. And it might connect with you too. So it says, "My son, if you come to serve Yahweh, prepare your soul for temptation. Set your heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that you may be increased at your last end. Whatsoever is brought upon you, take cheerfully, and be patient when you are changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help you. Order your way aright and trust in him. Ye that fear Yahweh, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall. Ye that fear Yahweh, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear Yahweh, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in Yahweh and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that call upon him? For Yahweh is full of compassion and mercy, long-suffering and very pitiful, and forgives sins and saves in time of affliction." And he goes on to say, "Woe to the fearless hearts and faint hands and the sinner that goes two ways." But this, I wanted to emphasize the first 11 verses because they just really speak to what you kind of go through. I mean, a lot of us who give up lives and give up property and give up, loved ones and things like that just to pursue this goal of going off grid because we felt called to do it. A lot of times we're going to be ridiculed for it. A lot of times we're going to seem like we're crazy. And so you have to know, you have to be fully convinced in your heart of why you're doing it and who's called you to do it. And I know a lot of people go off grid and it's not anything that's related to faith or anything like that. It's just knowing and seeing what's going on in the world. And that's definitely something to note as well. But I don't think Yah has called me here because he's necessarily trying to preserve me from danger or anything like that. Which I think that might be a part of it. But I think it's to strengthen me and grow me as a person. And then I can then have that experience to share with others and maybe draw others to him. Because everything that we do is supposed to bring glory to him. And so I just wanted to share that. So I wanted to mention this email I received this morning, and it's from a lady that she's been watching the videos. Thank you so much for watching them. And she's basically kind of just put them in one of those AI platforms, because I don't really use AI that much personally myself. I gotta be honest with you. And she puts them in like in an AI platform, and they summarize, and it summarizes the emails, and adds information, like pulls from other sources and adds information. And they've been actually very helpful to me. And I will admit it, the first time I saw the emails come through, I was just like a little bit taken aback. I was like, what's this? Because they were like in legal terms, like statutes and things like that. I'm like, what's this? But then once I started like really reading the emails, I realized that, oh, they're very helpful. They're providing me information that I would have never figured out on my own. And so this one this morning, though, because some of the emails are summarizing the videos and providing additional information. Some of them are giving me video ideas for the future, which was great, by the way. Thank you very much for that. And this one this morning made me cry, literally tears. I cried because, and I know this is probably a lot of AI thing, but she must have had to put in those prompts for the AI thing to write all of these things that were just, let me, it's a very long email, so I'm gonna try to go through it. You guys, I'll put the timestamp so you guys can jump ahead as well if you want to. But I think it's kind of important to read it just because it just summarizes so much of what this is all about for me. Now, it's summarizing the video I did about how I handled my waste. And but it went a little further. So I'm gonna start reading because I'm rambling now. So it's Dear Designer Off Grid. I just lifted my cold brew to you. Thank you. I lifted my hot brew to you. Good morning. I hope this email finds you well on this crisp January morning in northern Arizona. As you mark the completion of your first full month on your 10-acre off-grid homestead, I wanted to take a moment to honor the journey you've shared so openly with your community. Your recent video on waste management and the broader story of your transition has been inspiring, raw, and deeply real. Today feels like the perfect time to reflect on where you came from, the layers of resilience you've carried across borders, and how Yahweh is publicly unfolding blessings in this new chapter. You grew up in Salt Spring, a quiet rural community on the outskirts of Montego Bay in St. James Parish, Jamaica. In your words, it was a place of decent, God-fearing neighbors helping one another, even amid real hardship. No running water, long walks to the community standpipe. Barefooted, by the way. I forgot to mention that in my video that we used to walk barefooted to the standpipe, 10 miles up rocky terrain. And I mean like pointy rocks, okay? No running water, long walks to the community standpipe, sometimes miles over rocky terrain. Rainwater collected with mosquito larvae, a detail that still makes you say ew. A 3-room house shared by a large family, outdoor pit latrines far from the home, and the beds crowded with siblings. You didn't even realize you were poor at the time. There was no television to compare lives, and aspirations pointed toward America without the weight of constant contrast. Historically, rural areas like Salt Spring and much of St. James Parish carry the deep scars of Jamaica's colonial past and post-independence struggles. The parish, once shaped by sugar plantations and a brutal system of slavery with extreme inequality between a tiny planter elite and the majority in abject poverty, saw lingering effects into the 20th century. The 1970s brought economic crises, chronic balance of payments problems, foreign exchange shortages, accelerating inflation, negative growth for 7 straight years, high unemployment, low wages, and widespread rural discontent. Now, this is an understatement. It's factual, but I mean, we went through times when there was just like food shortages, and I just remember a political climate amidst, I just remember as a child, I didn't know too much of what was going on, but politics around election times, people would get killed just for wearing the wrong color. I mean, there were some crazy times that we went through, and there was like the element of gangs as well, because we had a lot of like little gangs in Jamaica. It wasn't, when you think about it, it wasn't like when you think about gangs here that drive-bys and they're just killing people. I mean, the gangs were more like, I don't know. We did not feel threatened living in our community because they knew who we were. My parents were like really decent. My parents used to help people. Like my mom would like, even when we didn't have food, my mom would just like make sure neighbors had food. And so we were well known in the area. And so the gangs that were around, they kind of went off to themselves. They weren't like a constant threat to the community. We just knew they were there. We could hear the gunshots at nights, but we never felt like threatened. Like we weren't afraid to live there. I don't know if that makes sense, but when I think about gangs here in America and I see people like being afraid in their own homes, we didn't have that element but we knew the gangs were around. But I think they just used to go rob rich people. I don't know. I really don't know how they handled stuff. But I just remember hearing gunshots at night. But it wasn't. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it other than we knew that element was around, but we never felt afraid or threatened because they weren't threatening us, the people living in the community, because we were all kind of the same. We were all. It was like a level playground, you know. Let me keep reading. Many families in hillside communities like yours lived with limited infrastructure, relying on manual labor, rainwater, and community standpipes, while national challenges amplified everyday hardships. Later decades brought natural disasters, hurricanes, devastating agriculture, homes, and infrastructure in Western Jamaica. Now, I remember Hurricane Gilbert. I was already, I don't even remember how old I was, but Hurricane Gilbert took out our whole house. Like, we had a part of the house that was built from sticks and another part that was built from building blocks and concrete and all. And the concrete parts stood up, but the rest of it was like taken out. And that kind of was what led to my father's death, because I think because he when he was trying to repair the house, he stepped on a rusty nail and his foot got swollen up, and he never got medical treatment. I don't know why my dad never went and got medical treatment. And I think that's ultimately what caused his death. We still don't know what caused my father's death. He was sick for a while, went to the hospital. He was in the hospital, and we never really got a full actual diagnosis of what. We just assumed it was cancer, but I think that nail had something to do with it, because it really, I mean, his foot was swollen for months at a time, and he was just treating it at home. I don't know why. Okay, so let me keep reading. You describe this not as a complaint, but as context. These origins made the rough edges of off-grid living feel familiar rather than foreign. You've said going back to basics isn't far-fetched because you've lived it before, until age 15, when life shifted toward flush toilets, TV, and more normal comforts. That foundation lets you see America's glitter, the shiny surfaces of success, consumerism, and ease, with clear eyes. You observe the layers, the privileges, the illusions, the hidden struggles, because you were born into a place where survival was honest, unfiltered, and community dependent. And yet, here you are in Apache County, Arizona, 1 month into claiming your raw land. You've set up your shed, managed hygiene with ingenuity and zero smell, pine shavings truly working miracles, boiled water for bucket showers, diluted urine for future soil building, and kept hygiene sacred even in a tiny space. Yes, I mean, and I didn't mention in my hygiene video about like wipes and things like that. So, you know, wipes play a major role in, you know, when you're, instead of having to wash your hands sometimes because you're inside here at night, you have to use your wipes to kind of keep your hands clean. So I forgot to mention that, and somebody pointed that out, or something related to that in the comments. You've navigated cold snaps, alarms from your Houston property, and the emotional weight of starting over as a 53-year-old single woman. Through it all, you've shared scripture, Deuteronomy 23, uncovering waste, and emphasized responsibility to the land and to Yahweh walking in the midst of the camp. God is indeed publicly blessing you, not with instant luxury or glitter, but with the quiet miracles of progress. A compost bin secured, buckets odor-free, a garden area taking shape, and the strength to keep going. Your story shows that with origins teach you humility. Your story shows that when origins teach you humility, resourcefulness, and discernment, the path forward, however rugged, reveals deeper truths about what really matters. You can have all the shine in the world, but recognizing the onion layers, the real beneath the facade, is a gift from those roots. Today, set aside time to walk around your Apache County land, no matter the current temperature. Bundle up if it's chilly. Feel the ground under your feet. Breathe the high desert air, and remember, God is with you. He's been with you since Salt Spring days, through every transition. And now in this new homeland, probably throw on a pair of flannels, practical, warm, and fitting for the homestead vibe. Take slow steps and let gratitude rise. This month isn't just survival, it's testimony. That got me. It is. Thank you for letting us witness it. Your transparency encourages so many. May the blessings continue to unfold layer by layer in ways only he can orchestrate, with respect and encouragement. So again, it's from Grok. But again, like I said, somebody had to put these prompts in there. And she says, or simply a fellow admirer of your journey. So thank you very much for that. I cried and I'm crying again, just because it really is a testimony. It really is. And I know this is about Yahweh's goodness. And here's the thing. I know there's some people probably watching who they've seen me do so much so fast. But this is money that I worked really hard. I've worked hard all my life. I've been working since I was 17 years old. And I worked at a bank in Jamaica, which was a big deal. Getting a job at a bank, because I left high school. I graduated at 16, 17 from high school. And my principal recognized, she saw something in me, and she referred me to a bank, the biggest bank, it's called NCB, National Commercial Bank in Jamaica. And they were hiring, for some reason, they were hiring kids straight out of high school, which is unheard of in Jamaica in 1990, what was it, 1991, 1991, unheard of. And I went and I applied for a job and dropped my principal's name because she told me to do that. And I was hired on the spot. And so I had my first boyfriend at that time. And I told him that I got a job at the bank. And my boyfriend said to me, that boyfriend never loved me. I don't know what, he was very cute though, so you get why I was I was with him, but he never actually loved me. I realize that now. But he said to me, what if when you show up for work on Monday morning, they just give you a mop and a bucket? He already instilled in me that it couldn't be. It couldn't be that they wanted me for any talent or anything. It had to be a janitorial position. Anyway, I got the job and I went, and it wasn't a janitorial position. It was I was working as a foreign exchange desk clerk, and then I moved into the teller role. Stayed at the bank for about 6 years until I moved to the United States. And so I mentioned that to say that I've worked hard my entire life, always working, and I'm very old school with my with work. I show up for, like, I'm a stickler for being prompt and early, and time matters to me. And because I started my career in kind of customer service is huge to me. You talk to any one of my clients right now, I treat them better than they could ever expect. I go above and beyond when it comes to, that's why it's so hard for me to deal with people who are just like, they don't care about me as a customer. It's so hard to understand that whole concept. But anyway, so I work hard my life. I've gotten to the pinnacle of my career, as I mentioned many times. You guys have heard me say that. And I've gotten to some lows as well. Okay. I've gotten to the point where, I was broke at one time here in the United States. And, so a lot of things, I've gone through many situations, and each situation I come out fighting. But there's something that hits different with this part of my life, where this part I'm actually trusting Yah. And so when I built that big beautiful house in Houston and thought that was it, that was a goal, and Yah kept just like, it's almost like Yah was just like using a pin, and he was pricking me, and he was saying, this is not where I wanted you to be, this is not where I wanted you to be. And so I never enjoyed that house. And most people would just, and there's nothing wrong with this, so don't get me wrong, please don't misunderstand when I'm saying this, okay? Most people would stay in the house until it sells, okay? Because the house, it's on the market, and most people would just stay in it, and when it sells is when they'd move. I had to move. Right away. Yah just kept telling me, you need to move. You need to go. And he started creating conditions that forced me to make that decision, because I was super hesitant. For months and months and months, I sat on that decision and I wouldn't move until he just like started like creating conditions that, you need to move. And so I'm here for a reason, for a purpose. And maybe Yah hasn't fully opened up the reasons why he brought me here, but I'm walking in it, and I'm walking in faith. And each time he just slowly reveals something to me. And this YouTube channel has become that. I did not expect that, because I I started this YouTube channel, yes, to share my journey and all that. A small part of the reason was to eventually get monetized. Now, I did not expect it to happen so soon, but a small part of it was to get monetized at some point in time, just so it could help support my lifestyle if my career didn't end up taking off here. Because I'm trusting Yah to provide, but Yah also wanted me to put some work in, because trusting Yah doesn't mean you just sit around and wait for him to do things. You're supposed to do things too, and he will create the right conditions for it to happen. But he told me to come here, and he told me that you're going to struggle. This is not glitz and glamour or anything like that you're used to. Somehow a part of me still believes that I need to hold on to my business, my interior design business, just because, I'm in people's homes, and your home is like that sacred space, and I get to talk to clients in a way that most service people don't get to talk to clients, because I'm talking to them about intimate things, and so that always provides opportunities for me to share. Now, I don't always get to share my faith with people, but I get to share my character with people, and it's been helpful in growing me as well too. So I don't think I'm supposed to give up on my business being here. But I'm going to take that advice, and I'm going to walk my property today, and I'm just going to continue to pray over it, to give Yah all the glory and all the praise for getting me to this point. And just that little walk on memory lane about growing up in Salt Spring. And I'm glad I shared that, because this is not something I usually share. I mean, I really don't talk about Salt Spring a whole lot. And I'm glad I shared that, because that it helped to put things into perspective a little bit, especially from this email, that, I've come a long way. And Yah has been with me the whole time. Even when I departed from him, he was with me the whole time. And he brought me back to this point of my life where I had to pull from those skills, or those survival skills that I had growing up in Salt Spring. Isn't he amazing? Man, it's so bright out here. Ooh, and beautiful. Oh my goodness. Because I'm not used to it, I mean, the sun, because I just came out of the dark. It's not even dark in there, but oh my goodness, it's so bright. Ah, oh man. Gorgeous day. Gorgeous, gorgeous day. Oh my, wow. Just look at that. Look how bright it is. Oh my goodness, look how bright. Thank you, Yahweh. Oh, your goodness is evident even in nature. I just love the sound of the snow underfoot, the powdery sound. Wow. There are these pockets of ice everywhere, so I gotta be careful. I haven't seen my neighbor in days. He's been working, and so I've not seen much of him, but I think he's probably at church right now. Wow. It's just beautiful here, guys. And you can hear the snow falling off of the roof. That's a sound that I have to get used to, because last night I could hear it dropping off of the roof. But now oh, look at that. That's just so beautiful. Oh, Yahweh, in your goodness. Thank you for bringing me here, Yah. Thank you for bringing me here. When you are open to the growth, when you're open to the hardships, when you're open to, everything that comes with the mission, when you look at all of the prophets of old, and Sometimes I read some of those stories in scripture and I'm like, these prophets were all depressed. If you really just look at their stories, I mean, Elijah, he had to go out into the desert and he, trying to get away from King Ahab and Jezebel and, you know, being fed by the ravens. And, when you look at things like that, Jonah running away, didn't want to go to Nineveh. He went and got swallowed up by a fish. All of these prophets and even the apostles, they all endured hardships. And how do we expect that life is going to be all pleasant and wonderful all the time? If we're serving Yah, we are supposed to prepare ourselves for temptation, just like in Sirach, which is Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 says, we are to prepare ourselves for hardships, for temptation, for things that we would not have wished on ourselves, but we are to be open to how Yahweh wants to work in our lives. And but when you see all of this, you're like, the temptations and the hardships are kind of worth it. So I've had a chance to reflect today and just thought so much about that email and so much about just the whole world of YouTube. And if I had not put my life out there, if I had not shared my story, perhaps things would look a little bit differently for me. Perhaps I would not be feeling the encouragement. Perhaps I would not be feeling like getting up each day and just getting it done. I certainly would not know how to do some of the things that I've been able to do because it's because of people who have been gracious and kind to share information. And so I'm so happy that I decided to say, let me put my life out there and let me take what comes along with it, the good and the bad. And there are days when it's still kind of like, wow, Veronica, you're literally sharing your life out there with people that you don't know. But I am so glad that I did that. And I'm so glad that Yah is going to use this to further his kingdom with just my little bit of obedience. And obviously, y'all can do anything without me, but he chose me. He chose to use me in some way, and I'm so grateful for that. And in so doing, it's causing me to grow a little bit. It's causing me to really understand the why and the how, and he's causing me to be a little bit less selfish, because as someone who's done life on her own for most of her life, like I said, I started working at age 17. I got married to my daughter's father. We divorced. Let me hit this thing before it sleeps on me, because when it sleeps, it loses information sometimes. Divorced, then remarried. He passed away. And so for most of my life, I've been alone. I've had to figure out everything myself. I had to fight for the things that I felt like I needed or deserved. Um, so it's really hard for me to let people in. It's really hard for me to trust people and say, all right, you do this part of my life. And, it's really hard to let people in and trust them to take care of something that I depend on, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And so this YouTube community is allowing me to just be like, let me let people in a little bit. Now you still have to be careful, because you don't know, this world that we're in is a little strange. So you still have to be careful, but I've grown. I've come a long way in these 30 days, and I can just imagine what Yah has in store for me for the rest of the time that he has for me on this earth. And I'm excited to see what unfolds. So to Yah be the glory. And thank you guys. Thank you for coming alongside me and just encouraging me, inspiring me, helping me to you're looking at my paper towels there. Like I said, I use my bed for storage, so you're gonna see a lot of stuff stored on my bed. But thank you guys so much. And I'll be out of this little shed one of these days soon. It will be soon. And you'll see more and more actual homestead development going on soon. So there are times when I'm just gonna sit down like this and heart, and then other times it's just work. And so today's one of those reflection days. So sorry, I was just eating a piece of banana bread, so it's probably still all over my mouth. So thank you guys so much. All right. Have a blessed Sunday. Bye.